Okay, good morning, everybody. As we go to Chitas of the day, we are holding today's Monday. We're holding the Chumash on the portion of Pashas Bahalotcha, and the Torah is talking about the laws of a Levi. The Levi is the tribe that did the service in the temple at the time of the Beis Hamikdash and the time of the Mishkan. They did the service of the Beis Hamikdash, and they would be part of Aaron and his children. So Aaron did the actual service in the temple, and the Levites did whatever else was needed in the putting together, to protecting the temple, and to making sure everything would run smoothly. So we're holding this the dedication, inauguration of the tribe of Levi into the service of the temple. So holding on chapter 8, verse number 15. And after this whole induction service, the Levium will come and serve to serve in the tent of meeting in the base of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. And you're going to cleanse them, purify them, and you'll lift them as a waving. Why? Verse 16, because they are given they are given to the Ritech B'nai Yisrael from amongst the Jewish people, this tribe, Tachas Pitras Korechem B'chor, they were given instead of the firstborn. The firstborn of the Jewish nation was supposed to do the service in the temple, but after the golden calf, they were substituted by the tribe of Levi. I asked them to become and do the service in the temple. Rashi says Nesunim. Why does it say twice the word Nesunim, holy given? Nesunim Lamasa, they were given to the service of carrying and putting together the temple, and Nesunim Lashid and Levium would sing they would sing in the service. They had beautiful voices, and they knew how to play instruments, so they used to sing as part of the service. Verse 17, why? Because to begin with, the firstborn was I wanted the firstborn to be the ones that are holy. My case in the day that I killed, the day that I smote all the firstborns in the land of Mitzrayim, Higdashti Isam Li. Really, it was supposed to be the firstborns. As Rashi says, the firstborns are mine by right, for I protected them among the Egyptian firstborn. I took them on myself, so until they erred and they made a mistake in the golden calf. And when they sinned the golden calf, I went to plan B, so to say. Verse 18, I've taken the Leviim Tachas Ko B'cher, I've taken the Levites instead of the firstborn, the Bnei Yisrael from the Jewish people. Verse 19, then I given the Leviim to Aaron and his sons, Bnei Yisrael, from amongst the Jewish people. You see, Aaron was also from the tribe of Levi, but Aaron was separated to be the Kohanim, the priest, and everybody who came out of Aaron were Kohanim. So by Jews we have a Kohen from the family of Aaron, and a Levi from the tribe of Levi. So I've taken them to do the service in the temple, and by them doing the service, they bring forgiveness for the Jewish people that made the golden calf. And then the Jewish people will not have a Negev, a plague. That they would come too close to the sanctuary. So that's why the tribe of Levi, their obligation was to make sure that the Jewish people didn't come too close to the sanctuary. The Rashi said the children of Israel is mentioned it 5 times. Keeps on mentioning the children of Israel. thus declaring the affection God has for them. You have it 5 times in Israel. In this verse, you have the children of Israel mentioned 5 times. For the mention is repeated in one verse as many times as the 5 books of the Torah. I saw this in the Gemara that the Medrash, you see the beauty of the Abish, the God loved the Jewish people. He mentions them in one verse many times. So that they will not need to them to approach the holy sanctuary, for they do approach. There will be a plague, and therefore God, the Levites would protect the Jews and make sure that they don't come too close to the sanctuary. Verse 20. Vayas Moshe v'Aaron v'cholas bnei Yisrael, and Moses and Aaron did, the entire Jewish congregation did. L'Leviim to the Leviim, k'chol asher tziva Hashem es Moshe. Whatever God commanded Moshe concerning the Leviim, Ein asu bnei Yisrael. This is what Moses did to them. The Rashi says Moshe presented them to Leviim, and Aaron lifted them. 22,000 Leviim and 22,300 Leviim that were there. Tato Leviim, the Leviim cleansed themselves. They washed their clothes. And Aaron uplifted them as a tenufa, as an offering before God. And Aaron intoned them to cleanse them, to bring them into the service of the temple. And after this whole service, the Levites came. They came before Aaron, for his sons. As God commanded Moshe, Aaron Levim, Cain Asulam. This is what was done. Actually, the Torah keeps on saying this to extol those who performed this right, and those whom was performed for, none of them objected. Everybody was in sync in doing this unbelievable induction, so to say. Verse 23. God spoke to Moshe saying, verse 24, this is the rule concerning the Levim, their service. For the age of 25 years old. So they got involved in the service of the temple from 25 years old. Their service started at 25 years old. The age disqualified Levi. Levi is different than a Kohen. A Levi, he doesn't have the laws of a mum because he didn't actually do the service in the temple. That wouldn't mean a handicapped, God forbid. By a Kohen, that would disqualify him. But not a Levi. A Levi, the only thing that disqualifies him is age. Rashi says elsewhere, we find it says from 30 years old. So how do you go from one verse says 25, one verse says 30 years old? So Rashi says from 25 years old they came. This was a big job, and they would come and learn. They would go to Levi College. And they would come and study 5 years how to do the service to make sure they did it correctly. And they studied from 25 to 30. And 30 was the time they went into to do what they were supposed to do. But from here you learn, the Gemara says a general law that if you teach somebody for 5 years and he doesn't get it, forget it. Let him go find another profession. So if they taught the Levi for 5 years, from 25 to 30, and he couldn't get the situation, then he should go find something else to do because this is not for him. Verse 25. So from 30, so his job was from 30 to 50. At the age of 50 was retirement for the Levi, at least. And then from the 50 years old, he stopped to work, and he didn't do the service in the temple. The Rashi says the work of carrying on his shoulders, the Levi didn't do. At 50 years old, he didn't have so much strength anymore, and therefore he only did the heavy work from 30 to 50. But there was many other things that the Levi can do after 50, and that was to open the doors and the singing the day, louding the wagons. And this he can do. He can continue to do until he wants to retire. Verse 26, Vishade says, Echa Bayel Mait, and he shall minister with his brothers in the Oyel Mait, Lishmer Mishmeres, to keep the charge. But he won't do any heavy labor after 50. This is what you should do to the Levium in regarding their charge, their obligation. What means mishmereisim, their charge? So Rashi says, the Mishkan was in the middle of the Jewish people. And the Levium camped around the Mishkan. The whole tribe of Levi camped around the Mishkan. The Levi and the Kohen camped around the Mishkan. So they made sure first there was like the buffer zone between the Jewish people and the Mishkan, make sure nobody was sleepwalking and walked into the Mishkan, which they shouldn't have been. And they would also be there for the time of taking apart the Mishkan and getting it ready to move on. That completes the Chumash of the day. We now go to the Tanya of the day. We go to a little Kabbalah, a little Kabbalistic teaching to give us a boost. Every day we're holding in Shari Yichud Ve'emunah, chapter 4, second part of that chapter, chapter 4. Now, the Rebbe is talking about the way we express our praise of our Kadosh Baruch Hu, the way Jews express their praise to God, and they say HaGodel, HaGiber, that God is great, and God is strong, HaGiber, strength. The greatness is to God, and the strength is to God. Now, this attribute, the attribute of HaGodel, which we explained, what means strength? What means great, I mean. What means great is the attribute of Chesed, the attribute of kindness, that spreads forth like his life force into the world. So to create them, Exo Nilo, the Eibishter, God created the world with the attribute of kindness, and therefore he gives life existence to everything in the world, is exclusively the praise of the Holy One, thus blessed be he. Because there's nothing else in the world that can create something from nothing. So really, it's not a kindness that we do. We're just creating something from something. A true act of kindness, and when it was not there before, now it's there. And that's why God is the ultimate aspect of kindness, because he created everything from nothing. She'ein b'yachayla shum nivra. Nothing can create something from nothing. Everything that human being does is something from something. Therefore, he's not so great, because every human being needs to have something else to be able to create that something, to be able to make that something. Only the Eibishter can be called great because he can create something from nothing. And for no created thing can create beings out of nothing and give it life. So creation of Exo Nilo is utterly beyond the realm of created beings. In the words of the Medrash, even if all mankind were to gather together, they would not be able to create even the wing of a gnat in an inanimate thing. Now today with technology, we can, we have great imagination, and we can create, we can develop something, and we can take something and develop it. You can take a skin and develop a whole body, but you still need something. You need to start off with something. You cannot take nothing and make it into a something. Only God can take nothing and turn it into a something. God midazu. And also the attribute of benevolence, really the truth is, benevolence, chesed itself, kindness, is also something that a human being is not capable of doing true kindness. Because everybody has strings attached when they do kindness. It's never totally pure kindness. So there's always some reason why a human being does kindness. The reason might be because he feels like he should do kindness. So there's always a reason. It's always connected to something why I do kindness. So I do kindness only to people that I think that need kindness. The Abish that God is kind, unlimited kindness. He's kind to everything and everybody. And that's why the true aspect of kindness is to God. Because humans cannot comprehend true concept of kindness. For it's not within the power of the intellect of any creature to comprehend thoroughly the faculty of chachma, of wisdom, or understand thoroughly the faculty of bina, this attribute and the ability to create a being out of nothing and verify it. The Abishter took something, that's a true act of kindness. True act of kindness is I take something, never was there, I bring it into being, and therefore I didn't need it because it was never there. The Abishter, God doesn't need anything, God doesn't gain anything. God doesn't have anything, from anybody, or for anything in the world. And he creates something totally, not for himself, but for the thing itself. Yabriya yesh me'ayin was the creation of an ex nihilo, who dava shalamaylam transcends the intellect of creation. It's not comprehensible. Nobody would do it. Nobody does nothing for nothing. Only the Eibishter can do nothing for nothing. In so much as it stems from the attribute divine ki midas gedulase shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because it's in so much as it stems from the divine attribute of gedula, the aspect of the greatness of God. That's what we say. Hagodel, God is truly great. God created something for nothing, and there was no reason, there was nothing there. So a human being supposed to develop something. He takes a tree, turns it into a cup because he needs the cup. Or he turns it into whatever kind of thing he wants to turn it because he needs that thing. He wants that thing. There's a reason to why he puts all this work and development into it. Humans don't do nothing without a reason. The Eibishter created everything from nothing. Because he had the aspect of true chesed. He had the concept of true kindness. As the Kabbalah says, it says in the Zohar, now the one Holy One, blessed be, and his attributes are perfect unity. As the Holy Zohar states, he and his causation, meaning his attributes are one. So by God doesn't have emotions. By us, we have attributes. Our wisdom creates emotions. By God, he doesn't have an emotion. That's why it's called in Kabbalah, in Zohar, it's called, the attributes are called causation, a cause and effect. So since God has the concept of wisdom, he created the will of wisdom, so therefore, automatically he has the concept of chesed, the concept of an attribute, of an emotion, of a cause. Just as it's impossible for the mind of any creature to comprehend its creator, therefore ultimately impossible to comprehend God's attributes. So until now we are speaking of specific attribute of a gedula or chesed. Alter Rebbe will now say that just as this attribute, which is responsible for creation, is unfathomable, so to regard to the attribute of gevura, contraction. The function of this attribute is to conceal from the created beings the activating force within them, enabling them to exist as tangible entities instead of being utterly nullified within the source. Why would God do that? Why would a human being should have life? What does he gain out of it? What does he have? What is his purpose in it? Why would he want it? That's what David still wanted. It's hard for us to understand why. Because we are all in a gain mode. Whether it's the aspect of chesed, whether it's the aspect of kind of, whether it's the concept of respect, there's a gain. There's a reason why I'm doing it. Whether even it's for you that I'm respecting you, there's a reason. I gain. There's a gain. Your gain. Your gain is my gain. God is above gain. He doesn't need it. He's the same before creation as he's after creation. Nothing changes in God before creation has not changed anything in God, which is hard for a human being to comprehend this concept. And that's why we're created, and not the creator. The Alter Rebbe continues, and just as it's impossible for the mind of any creature to apprehend the attribute of the greatness of God, which is the ability to create a being out of nothing and give it life, as is written, the world was built by and created through the attribute of kindness. God wanted to give. Why he wanted to give? Because that's what he wanted. Not he needed it, not he gained from it, because he wanted it. Exactly, so it's impossible for it to apprehend, a human being to apprehend the divine attribute of gevura, restraint, with which the faculty of tzimtzum, condensation, contraction, restraining the spread forth of the life from his attribute of gevura. Why would God want to constrain himself? Why would God want to hide? Preventing it from ascending upon them and manifesting itself in the creatures and providing them with life and existence in a revealed manner, but rather within with a continence of concealment, divine activating force as it works within creation in a concealed manner. Thus, the attribute of gevura and tzimtzum. Gevura means strength. Tzimtzum means contractions that enable the life force to be concealed from the very creature it's creating. So the Abishter created something from nothing, and at the same moment, he had to hide the power of creation so that this creation can again have its identity. Why did the Abishter talk for us to comprehend why? So the Abishter, our neshama, we know we have a neshama, but nobody feels it. The power of the neshama, take a simple thing, my power, my existence, comes from my soul. And it's such a power that without it, I would not live. And I cannot, it's so hidden. It's such a, on one hand, it's the true existence. On the other hand, I cannot see it. And I don't feel it. That's the great, only the Avish that can take something that is so, imagine having something, you create something that the whole power is there and you can hide it. You wouldn't be able to do that. A human being, we wouldn't be able to do it. Create a plate but not see the plate. Create a soul that gives a life to the body, and now you cannot see it. The human being cannot see it. The human being cannot even feel it. For the life force is concealed within the body of the created being, make it appear as though if the body of the created being is an independent existence. That's how far God's contraction is. How far God can so to say hide his power, which is the true life force of the entity. Without it, the entity, the body can think it's a big thing, but without its life force, it's nothing. 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 dead. It has no value. Nothing. Reverts to nothing. Here, a life force that gives this body its total existence, and at the same time, to be totally hidden, and that the body can think and talk itself in that it's its own life force, it's its own existence. That's an amazing accomplishment. Should have understand of that, even though in reality the created being has no independent existence. The sad thing is, people only realize this when it's too late. They realize this, and God forbid, after 120 years, now the life force leaves the body, and there's nothing. So like we say in the Psalms, you're like a shadow, fleeting shadow, forgotten. That's why King Solomon said it's more important to go to a funeral than to than to a than to a wedding. Because at a funeral, you realize the living can take the heart. Life is so precious. It's not what you think life is, your physical reality. It's your life. It's your neshama. It's your soul that's important. But your body, our bodies have such a power. Just like the soul is very powerful, the body is very powerful. And seemingly the body is more powerful than the soul. And the body can basically deny the existence of the soul. The body can talk itself in that it has its own existence. When it doesn't. I don't give a splash of Hashem, it's like only diffusion of the light of the sun. It's really nothing. It's really the neshama that comes from above. The dust, like the rays of the sun, the diffusion of the sun. So too, all creation is but a diffusion of God's activating force. This, however, created beings are continually found within their source. Unlike the sun ray, which leaves at their source, the divine source should cause them to completely nullify within it. You would think that since God, it has to be within you, the source of God needs to be within you to give you your life. Why wouldn't you feel it? Why wouldn't you see it? Just as the light of the sun is a state of complete nullification within the sun. So why wouldn't the light that God gives you be as if it's in its source and you would feel it? Actually, you would be nullified. You would feel it. It would take you over. The body would be nothing. But here is the greatness of God's strength. This is where it's felt. This nullification now felt by the created beings, even though they are diffusion of God's activating force for the capacity of self-concealment. That God can take the neshama, God can take the light of his essence and hide it. That's the Buddha. That is strength. It's strength that's unbelievable. It's a wonder of creation. Again, that's why we say every morning, I give thanks, I recognition to God. God took a soul which is so powerful. This soul comes from the attribute of chesed, the concept of giving. And as we mentioned before in Tanya, the aspect of God's giving is Teva Tev Lahetiv. God is kind and he gives everything. He gives you a soul that has unlimited capacities. Because it's a part of him that is unlimited. But he put it in me. Like the be. He put it within my physical reality. You know what a contraction God had to do to be able to take that power of that soul and put it into my physical reality, which is so, but a condensement that needs to be done. And that's why Hagevura, that's a great power of God. This of self-concealment is precisely the restraining power of the Holy One, blessed be He, who is omnipotent. So God's omnipotence expressed itself not only in the ability to bring forth light and bestow life, but also in his ability to conceal the same light, the same greatness of God that he gives, the same greatness of God that he conceals. It shows on both. And that's why we have to have both these attributes. The attribute of giving and the concept of making sure that our giving does not hurt anybody. That our giving does not bring about the opposite of giving. That's why some people they give, and if they get if for whatever reason something they don't feel they get some kind of negative response, they stop giving. What happened to their giving? Because they're giving, but there's strings attached, and that's why there needs to be gevura. There needs to be a human being gevura, constraints. He holds himself back. He makes sure the other person has his own identity. I'm giving you to help you, not to help me. And if you're not going to, whatever you're going to do with it, that's your issue. But I'm giving. When God gives us this light, this energy in our life, but He doesn't want that our body should lose its identity. So that the body of the created being should not become nullified out of existence. And hence, notwithstanding the fact that the created being is but a diffusion of the ray of its source, and is thus unable to perceive itself as being an independent existence, then the Abishter needs to hide himself, so that a person should feel his own existence. And it's beyond what Alter Rebbe said, what I just told you, is really beyond the scope of a mind of any creature to comprehend. The essential nature of tzimtzum and concealment. The concept of the way the Abishter can conceal himself. How is it possible for God to conceal himself? Very difficult concept in Kabbalah. Because you cannot say, like the question that can God create a stone that he can't pick up? Very deep concepts, very hard. That's why some people, after the says tzimtzum, they explain tzimtzum according to Chassidut, is that God hid himself not from humanity. It's a hidden concept of humanity, but God, there's no such thing as something is hidden. So to God's view, everything is revealed. It's humanity's view that it's hidden, which is a very hard thing to comprehend. It's a paradox. It's a very deep thing to comprehend. It's very hard to comprehend. And there's many, many arguments on this very deep concept of Chassidus and Kabbalah philosophy. To comprehend that nothingness. Comprehend that nonetheless, the tzimtzum notwithstanding, the created itself be created ex nihilo. However, since creation is an act of revelation rather than an act of concealment, ex nihilo should surely consist of a revelation divine first within the created being. That's why you can go back and forth on this. How then do both things manifest themselves at the same time? How do you have revelation and concealment at the same time? It's like a paradox. On one hand, the revelation of divine force. On the other hand, the condensement and concealment of the life force, so that a created being will be unaware of it and consider himself to be independent. How do you have both things? God gave me a soul, but it's hidden. How did God do that? Two things. A soul is a revelation of God. So how do we have these two things? This is the paradox. Then we can talk about it. We can philosophize about it. But the Alter Rebbe says to understand it is extremely difficult. That's why you leave that up to God. I say in the morning, I thank God because this concept is something that only God can do. Just like it's impossible for any human being to understand how God creates something from nothing. Impossible. Not possible for a human being to comprehend these concepts. It's very, very difficult. Not it's impossible, not very difficult, it's impossible. So you have the that's why the attribute of kindness and the attribute of severity by God is God, and it's impossible to comprehend God's kindness. You can comprehend a human being kindness. You can comprehend a human being strength, but it's impossible to comprehend God's concept of kindness and severity. And so, if you want to read this, since the capacity of symptom means the contraction, emanates the divine attribute of Gevura, one might erroneously infer that it actually serves to create an independent existent entity. That can't say that. Meaning, not only does it create beings regard itself as such, but the creator views it so as well. For so much, and that's where you can make the mistake. For so much as God causes this concealment, and its attribute of Gura, the ability to conceal, is as real and as effective the attribute of Gedula, the ability to reveal. We mistake light in creation, the sun ray, insofar as they exist beyond the confines of the sun's globe. So you could say maybe God created the concept of Gevura and it's separate from Him. So he created a situation that he can hide, that the light can be hidden. So you have the sun and its ray. Restoring this possibility, this possible error, the Alter Rebbe now explains that God's power to reveal and its power to conceal are truly one and the same. For the revelation and concealment of specifically light, and its vessel, Kalim, which are fused in completely total unity. Moreover, the state in which they exist in their supernal source, they are not only united, they are one in the same. Now, this axiomatic that no entity can conceal itself from itself. An illustration of this concept is found in Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, which states that covering one's head with one's hand does not serve as a valid head covering. If you're missing a yarmulke and you put your hand on your head, because the head and the hand are part of the same self individual. The hand cannot be said to conceal that which the head itself reveals. So the yarmulke is to cover the head. The covering, my hand is my head, so how can my hand cover something? The same is true here. Since the power to reveal and the power to conceal are essentially one and the same power, like the hand and the head, which is a manifestation of God's limitless ability, it is impossible for Simpson to bring about a real concealment that will be so regarding when reviewed from the divine prospect. Simpson only enables created beings to perceive themselves as independent existent entities. God does not view them this at all. To God, it's all the same. All about the way God did Simpson for humanity, not for himself. Very hard thing, and this is one of the teachings of the Alter Rebbe. Tzimtzum she'ena k'pshuta, tzimtzum contraction of godliness is not, you can't take it as the face value concealment. God cannot hide himself. All about the way humans see God. So I hope you got a little taste of Kabbalah today in the morning. And we completed the Tanya of the day. Today is the 13th day of the month. And the 13th day of the month is chapter 69 until chapter 71. So 69, 70, and 71. And you would have done the chitas of the day.
Amen. Baruch Hashem.
Beautiful
Thank
day.
you, Rabbi.
Tomorrow morning.
Good morning.
And to continue the Tanya, the chitas of the day. Have a
Good
great
stuff.
day.